and welcome back to Got Ahead. By this point, you'll already have seen quite a few of our clips. So you'll have started, for instance, with Q is for question, where you identified clearly what it was you wanted to achieve. You thought about what you didn't need to worry about, and then you looked at the qualifiers, things that you knew you needed to consider in order to have a successful answer to your question. Once you had set the perimeter of your question like that, you then moved forward into wonder. Wonder was where you had all those wonderful ideas. You dredged your mind to come up with all sorts of creativity and imagination and brought them out, looking at the features of all the different ideas. We used the Forget-Me-Not more to try and find more ideas if we were struggling. Once we had plenty of ideas to work with, then we took them forward into E is for explore. In Explore, we then looked at all of those ideas. We assessed them one by one and thought, what are we going to do with them? Could we put several ideas together to construct something better? Could we take one idea and enhance it in some way, make it more interesting, more effective, or remove a problem that we saw in it? We could also just select an idea if we thought already that it was very good. And once we had all those ideas that we've assessed, we could then cluster them together, combine them into solutions, possible solutions that would give us possible answers to our question. We moved that forward into rank, and at rank, we compared those solutions one against the other to see what would give us the best possible answer or the best chance at getting the answer that we wanted. We used things like pick, looking at the pros and cons and what was interesting, and we looked at give it a whirl, whether we liked those solutions, whether they were right, whether we thought they would work. And we used those to decide which solution we would go with. Once we've made that decision, we move forward into what we're going to look at today, which is the target stage. Now, the target stage is all about coming up with a plan to put your design or your solution into action. And that might sound, oh, right, I've got to do some work now. But actually, this is a fabulously creative part of the process, because this is where you see all those wonderful ideas that you had actually come to life. Instead of just being, a scratch of pen on paper, you can see it in front of you. You can read it if it's text or pick it up if it's an object. So this is something where instead of it being just an idea, even a fabulous idea, now it's more than that. It's real. And in order to get the reality the best way that you want it to be, there are certain things that you have to do. The first of those is to decide on your tasks, because it's very unusual for there to be one thing that you have to do in order for you to answer your question. Usually there's a series of things that you have to do, and you have to not just think about the task, you have to think how long it will take, who's going to do it, in which order you would do those tasks. So if we think about our example of the cafe, we knew that we had to wallpaper the walls in the cafe, we had to make the floors, we had to make staircases, we had to make furniture, we ideally would have cakes to have on display, we might have curtains. So all of these were separate tasks that we had to think about. Which ones would we do in which order? Which were more essential than others? Which ones should we be doing first? Then we had to assemble our materials. Now, that could be for a written task, that could simply be the information or the data that you need for a project. It could just as easily be glue and coloured pens. For us, it was things like toothpicks and the shoebox or boot box that we were going to use as the framework. We also needed sort of clear plastic for things. We needed felt to be the carpet. So those were the materials that we needed for the cafe. What you need for your materials will depend on your task. And once we've done that, we also have to track our progress, because most tasks, there will be some kind of deadline when it all needs to be done by. So we need to know, what have we achieved? Have we done enough in the timescale? Do we need to speed up? Or have we got time left that we can put in some of the bells and whistles that we would like, but that aren't absolutely essential to the task at hand? So if we look at it in diagrammatic form, you've got the question, what do we want to achieve? What don't we need to worry about? That's there to remind you that don't waste time on things that aren't part of the question. Just ignore that bit. Take your preferred solution and plan those tasks, right? Carpet the floor, cut out the windows, colour in the stained glass window, all the tasks that you would do. You have to plan what order you would do them in. Do you have to do one before the other? Get the materials that you need in order to do those tasks. Schedule which ones you're going to do in which order. Does one task have to be finished before the next one can be started? Or can some of them be happening simultaneously to speed up the process? And then you get to the execute and track. Great, we're almost there, we're sorted. Or are we? What happens if we come across a glitch? Do we just say, right, fine, I'm giving up? No, we absolutely do not say that. We go back to our friend QWERTY, because QWERTY will help us solve that glitch and make sure that the support is in place until we can solve the problem. So our problem in the cafe was, we had the boot box, we had it upright, we had put in the floors, and then the floors started to go tilting down the way. There wasn't enough support. How could she put furniture in there if the floors were at a 45-degree angle? So what we're going to do, just give up? No, absolutely not. What we did was we looped back to earlier stages of QWERTY to see how we could fix the problem. We went back to wonder, first of all, saying, okay, we've got a problem, the floors are tilting. What could we do to solve the problem of a tilting floor? Well, we came up with a number of ideas, but the most obvious one was actually, why don't you just put in some pillars? That's what they do in lots of buildings. They put in pillars to support the floors above. Great. Sorted. Move on. Okay, we've got pillars. We could probably do them with cardboard tubes. But what's that going to look like? How does that fit in with the theme of the luxurious cafe parfait that our daughter had decided on? What's it going to look like? So what we thought was, well, we're going to have to enhance this idea. It's a good idea. It works, the pillar, but it's just missing something. It's plain. How is that going to fit in with the theme that we have going in the cafe? So we used a forget-me-not. We used more. Now, you came across more inspiration, first of all, in wonder. The joy with a lot of our forget-me-nots is that they're flexible. You can use them in different places to do different tasks. But we thought we'll use more here to see if we can think of any ways that we could enhance this pillar. And immediately, in memory, we remembered something. My great-grandfather, my daughter's great-great-grandfather, Grandpa Love, was a foreman grainer in Fairfields, which was one of the big shipyards on the Clyde. Now, these were the shipyards that built things like the Titanic. They didn't build the Titanic, that was built elsewhere. But it was that sort of idea of, massive ocean-going liners that were luxurious, state-of-the-art. And in the public areas, they had marble pillars. Marble pillars on a ship. Right. Do you know how much marble weighs? That ship would be going right to the bottom of the ocean, whether it was the Titanic or not. So what they did was they pretended it was marble. They had artists like Grandpa Love who painted on the grain of wood or the grain of marble or semi-precious stones onto things to kid people on that it was something that it wasn't. And this is a skill that still goes on. For the Harry Potter fans out there, if you think back to Gringotts Bank with its marble pillars, are they marble, do you think? They are painted in just the same way that Grandpa Love did it for the liners. They are light balsa wood and they are painted on. If you go to the Harry Potter studios, you can see that for yourself. Up close, it looks like marble. Tap, tap on the column, you hear that it's wood. So we took that memory, this family memory, and thought we could use something similar to enhance our pillar, to make it workable. So what we came up with were pillars. We found pictures of marble, which we printed off, and we made our pillars. We had 3 floors. Each floor was a different colour carpet. So we had different marbles to make the pillars. So we had a red marble, a green marble, a blue marble. Problem sorted. So at that point, you can then say, well, your target's reached. You've done everything that you need to do. If you have had a glitch at the execute and track bit, you can look back to just to explore if you need to, or all the way back to wonder if need be. You can use Forget-Me-Nots to help you think of ways that you can solve the glitch. But the problems are solvable. The answers are in here. You can find them. And actually, it can be fun trying to find solutions, ways to twist things so that they do work instead of being a problem. And it makes it worth so much more when you can think, yes, it did work. Yeah, beauty. So what you do need to think about, though, when you're doing target, is you need to think hamburger. No, I haven't got cafe on the brain. This is something that you should be thinking about, because think hamburger is to help you remember to consider what is essential to your project. If you have a question that you're trying to answer, what exactly is it that must be there? There will be other things that you would like to be there, but there are some things that absolutely have to be there or it doesn't work. And that's the essential part. So if you're thinking about a hamburger, then that surely is the meat itself and the bun. Otherwise, it's just, a bit of mince, or it's some bread, isn't it? You can change the format of it, but essentially you have to have meat in a bun in order to have something that people would consider a hamburger. If you've got time, it would be lovely to add something like ketchup. You might add cheese, you might add bacon, you might add salad, not necessarily in that order. It depends what you want to do. But the point is, these are all extras. So when it comes to your task, you might find that you've done a pencil sketch. That's essential. If you get time, you can go back and colour it in. We had an idea that, or rather our daughter wanted curtains in her cafe. She would have loved material, hand-sewn little curtains at each window. We didn't have time for that. So we used a shiny material that we could concertina, so it looked like expensive curtains. It was still there, but we had to think about the time that we had left. So what was essential was the furniture and the outside of the cafe itself, in terms of the building. But things like curtains wasn't essential. If we had time, we could add them in. We did add them in, but we didn't add them in the way that she originally wanted because we didn't have time. So that's you done target. You've got all those wonderful ideas of yours you have now brought to life. You can see what you had in your head and it's all come out the way that you wanted, or has it? That's when we come back and we look at Yay, which is the next clip that we will look at. Also, have a look at our website. There's all sorts of information on there, other resources, including one called Tides, which includes the hamburger, and it shows you ways of working on tasks effectively. Our website, www.gotahead.com. But we look forward to seeing you at the next clip.